Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Southern University Board of Supervisors meeting is called to order. Should have resolved the feedback. That's perfect. Again, good morning, everyone. This morning, our invocation will be done by my good friend and pastor, Bishop Leroy Phoenix. Pastor Phoenix and I have known each other for a significant period of time. And before he was called to save souls, he did a lot of work protecting the citizens in and around the Metro New Orleans area as not only a deputy with the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office, but also a deputy with the Orleans Sheriff's Office. So, Pastor Phoenix, please.
Good morning. First, let me acknowledge the fact that I am honored to be here this morning to share prayer with you all. I feel blessed sitting in your presence. Thank you to Mr. Shorty and everyone else that is here today. If I can get you for a moment to bow your heads as you close your eyes and as we concentrate on him this morning. Father God, as we assemble here this morning, we acknowledge that it's because of you that we were able to make it. Thank you for your grace. Thank you for your mercy. God, I thank you for this meeting of some of the most powerful minds in this country. Thank you for those that are here that participate in helping to make great even greater. Thank you for these leaders from far and near. Thank you for the work that they do, the mind that you have given them to interpret the law. God, I thank you for supplying the sufficiency that is needed. I thank you for those that press their way because of whatever they may be dealing with. But because of you, we understand no matter what, we're always victorious. Now, God, I thank you for, as this meeting go forward, that because of your presence, there will be unity, there will be understanding, there will be deposits for later withdrawals. Again, God, thank you for making a way for the intent and purpose that this meeting is happening. You've blessed all of us to see you, that we will watch you use us to be a blessing. Thank you for the favor. Thank you for understanding. Thank you for cooperation. Thank you for unity and the coming together as one. These blessings and prayer, we pray and ask in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I'm talking about that. Thank you.
There you go. Yes, you could actually.
Our pledge this morning will be done by some of the men from the Honorary Center. Keith.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. If you all are able to stand, please do so. And place your right hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you. Before we go to our Academic Affairs Committee, I beg the board's indulgence. I'd like to handle our special presentations and our resolutions. Our first special presentation is recognition of the IBM Master's Fellowship winners and recognition of the IBM donation. Should be on. Dr. Sahu.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, Board of Supervisors. Good morning, Mr. President. I would now request our Associate Dean for College of Business, Dr. Derek Warren, to come and make the announcement, introduce our guest, and say a little bit about the importance and the activities, and then proceed to the check presentation.
Good morning, honorable board members, administrators, faculty, staff. It is my extreme pleasure and honor to introduce Ms. Belinda Scarborough Kennedy, who is our IBM HBCU advocate, ambassador, and who is a dynamic friend of the Southern University system. Since our engagement with IBM, the students of the Southern University system. It truly is an honor, and I would be remiss if I didn't thank the chancellors, each and every one of you, each member of our faculty staff, Dr. Sahu, Dean Andrews, Chancellor Pierre, Chancellor Adams, President Belton, Chancellor McMeans, and Chancellor Peening. All of you have made this moment a reality. So without further ado, I will turn things over to Ms. Scarborough Kennedy, who will make presentations.
Thank you. Good morning, Southern University System leadership. You can tell I'm a Southern Baptist Church girl, so with that introduction, I want to say thank you for allowing IBM this privilege of working with your faculty and your students. You have amazing students that you generate at this institution. I say that because last time I was in front of you, I presented a similar award to 3 students. I am very proud to let you know that one of those 3 students is now an IBM cloud developer. We have 3 students today that we are presenting, again, the IBM Master's Fellowship Award. 3 students out of a total of 16 that IBM presented this award to. So 3 out of 7, that's a hand clap to you for what you've done. Our first student. I am presenting, hopefully everyone can potentially see this check for $12,500 to continue for master's education. And this is for Sandia. Okay, I am a HBCU graduate with a math degree, so please forgive me for my pronunciation of English. Thank you so much. Thank you. We have our next awardee, a young lady, Sanita. Another $12,500 to continue her master's education with Southern University System. And our third award goes to Ebenezer Essel, another recipient of $12,500. He's in transit because of your Chicago traffic that followed me here to New Orleans. It's amazing, 3 students out of a total of 16 in the country came from Southern University System. Congratulations to all these. Now, Southern University System leadership and faculty have made a great investment in key technology areas and skills that are on demand, high paying in the world today. You have requested over 1,200 of our registration tokens to teach students artificial intelligence, data science, cybersecurity, Internet of Things, blockchain, design thinking, and quantum computing. These are 8 of the most in-demand areas in the world right now. And I don't have to point out to you how in-demand cybersecurity is. Right now, the White House has indicated in the US, we have 500,000 positions that we are not able to fill. Why does that matter to all of us in this room? 2 weeks ago, the President of the United States put our financial institutions on alert that we should expect our financial institutions to face cyber attacks because of the world war across the globe right now. I point that out to you because I'm also very pleased to share a little secret with you because we're HBCU, we can keep a secret. On August the 25th, the CEO of IBM committed to President Biden that we would help 20 HBCUs deploy cybersecurity leadership centers. Who first came to mind when this announcement was made for me? So, in keeping this among ourselves, I'm very proud to let you know that with a call I made to Derek, Southern University System was the first of those 20. Continuing in the tradition that was established last year when I was last in front of you, you again have leveraged the academic resources that IBM's made available and have used another $11 million. Thank you so much for this privilege to stand before you and to thank you for our partnership. Our students are our most important asset that we have in the US, and our HBCU students are a special asset in all of our hearts. Thank you for what you've done, what you continue to do, and I look forward to seeing you many more times in these conversations. But most importantly, I look forward to seeing your students in industry and in government. Thank you.
And thank you for IBM's commitment and your commitment to Southern University. Mr. President, let's join for a picture.
We took something else.
Mr. Chairman, Dr. Belton, none of this would be possible without the commitment of a very committed faculty of the University of Baton Rouge Computer Science. If you don't mind, can we recognize the faculty sponsors for these awards?
Certainly, sir. Be honored.
Faculty sponsors, please stand. Under Dr. Belton's leadership, the enrollment in the graduate programs have gone from about 15 to 18 to 118, and we want to increase it to 150 in the fall.
Thank you, Dr. Sauer. Now we're going to have an update on the Honorary Center from more Keith Phillips. But I'd also like to acknowledge one of Orleans Parish School Board members, J.C. Romero, who's in attendance today. Stand up, J.C.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Mr. President, and to our distinguished board. I want to say thank you for the opportunity to highlight a hidden gem and treasure here within the Southern University system that is now housed at Southern University in New Orleans. General Honor Rate program bears a great name. Everyone knows that. However, these young men that you see before today, that was ushering you in today, and you see them at the gala throughout the country, throughout each campuses, that we're going to give you a journey through what we do in the development of our honorary men. The Honorary Center was started in 2012 with an idea to support Black males in education and reverse the trend of them going to jail and in the prison pipeline. These young men that you see here today receive support from the system, the university. They receive room and board, meal plans, $500 towards books, an additional $100 a month stipend to pay for toiletries and personal items. There are two components that we pride ourselves on: training the trends and attacking challenges that this nation and the city fight daily. One is to reverse the trends of African-American males that's attending and graduating from college. Two, to increase the African-American male teacher presence in the classroom. This year we will be celebrating 10 years of our 10-year anniversary, as we've been doing so. Briefly, I will give you an illustration on the impact of one of our previous graduates.
You gotta understand, the program has done so much for me, not just as an educator, but as a person, as a Black man. I am more self-aware than I ever been. I am more confident than I've ever thought I could be. But that's because of the program. That's because of what the program did for me. My name is Jamal Williams. I am a 2020 graduate of Southern University at New Orleans. I am also a core member of the Honorary Center undergraduate.
Same analogy you find in life. The work that you do actually helps you in life. So the metaphor about the jab and the punch, it's like a boxer. You go round for round.
The Honorary Center has helped me to become a better person. I learned to be on time. I learned to be persistent. I learned to be punctual. I learned to be more advanced and be more knowledgeable about who I'm really in.
All the work you guys been doing, getting on the honor roll, dean's list, student leadership position, all that about being an honorary man.
Taught me how to think, taught me how to share ideas, taught me how to be more trustworthy to other people, through other people.
But that's from Mr. Phillips. He really pushed me to use what I already had.
Keep your mind strong. This is all mental. All mental. Working out, it's 6 in the morning, 6:45. All the other students are asleep, you are working.
The impact that it had on me is I know exactly how to walk into a room and be the one that everybody depends on, be the one that everybody can depend on, be the one that everybody can trust to get things handled. And that's because of the honorary center. You gotta understand, the program.
Thank you. The illustration that you guys just seen was our morning routine. There's some studies that show that working out in the morning gets them up and helps them succeed in the classroom. So Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we're getting up at 6 to 6:30 in the morning, working out, getting the young men ready for class. That's to make sure they don't miss their 8 o'clock class. We pay for breakfast, so after they finish working out, they go get dressed, go to class, and persist. Happy to announce that we have 16 graduates. 87% of those students are currently still teaching in the greater New Orleans area. 2 of those have graduated, completed their 2-year of teaching residency, and now police officers, Joshua Blackman and Dominique Rogers. Recently, we have graduate Shamar Butte this past fall, and we have 2 more graduates, the young man that you've seen do the pledge, Mr. Alton Harris, and Joshua Barnes. Mr. Alton Harris has been selected to go teach at KIPP in the relay program. We have partnerships throughout the city. So once the student graduates from here, they already have job placement. And that's one of the partnerships that I think that the program needed prior to me coming aboard. We are doing such a great job with that these young men not only have to worry about a job when they graduate, people are already looking for us. To get them to that point, we have a mental health specialist, Ms. Sonia Brown. She's a licensed clinical social worker. She also is a graduate of Southern University at New Orleans. Anytime the young men need any attention or help or support, she's on a call 24 hours a day. We all know life happens within those 4 years. Most students don't receive this type of specialty tailored support for its mental. Life happens. Some of my young men lost family members this past fall. On top of all that, they was dealing with the pandemic. And because we have these services available to these young men, they was able to overcome those challenges. How do we get there? Academic standing, you're looking at 10 young men at the minimum GPA of a 2.8. Majority of them have a 3.2, 3.1, and 3.5. It's also great to note that these young men are part of the Susman Connect program. 2 of those young men have a 3.5 and a 3.1 respectively. However, the importance of that is that these ACT scores came in below the average. One had a 14 and one had a 15. So it's not about the standardized test that we'll be judging. We're judging the will of the young man and the wanting to win. That's how we pick who we pick. Just because you don't have a high score in the ACT does not mean that you can't survive at some university or on any campus. And today we want to display that. Outside the campus, I'm telling you, we're building men for on campus and off campus. You'll see here illustrated when during the Hurricane Ida, most people evacuating, trying to get somewhere. These young men was running to help the community. Stuffing sandbags with Mr. Royce Duplessis. Representative Royce Duplessis is a great guy. He know our work in the community. Anytime that he needs something, we're the first person of people to call. We did multiple events during that time period and during the pandemic. Also, civic engagement. We understand the importance of being a registered voter. Voting counts. Everybody understands that. These young men not only registered to vote, they became members of the local NAACP. And on the illustration that you see here, they was out canvassing in the Hollow Grove area, encouraging other people in the community to register to vote this past fall. How do we do what we do? We strongly do everything based on fundraising dollars currently. However, we support in the past, but currently we are funding off of fundraising dollars. Our annual Golfer Scholar is our pride and signature event. And last year we had our most successful year with raising $49,000 net profit. Without this committee that helped me put this on, Ms. Shannon Williams, Sophia Jenkins, and Mallory Mark Taylor, she's in the room right here. I want to say thank you to those people, those ladies. Without those ladies doing what they do prior to the golf tournament, it would not have been a success. Also, everybody know the system-wide $1 Million March campaign. Last year, we was able to raise $43,000. We had 43 captains calling on the phones all day, every day. We start at 8 in the morning and end at 8 at night. These young men understand the importance of asking and receiving support from our donors. Since I've been here in 2018, we have raised over $125,000. My immediate supervisor, Mr. L. Harrell, preaches that every Tuesday, that call the phone, call someone, check your past donors, check foundations, everything to raise money for programming. Without fundraising, these young men will not be able to receive the support that we already given them. My personal goal this year, and I'm wrapping up, my personal goal this year is to raise $250,000 so I can sustain the program and continue to support these young men. We also expanded, we have on a Shreveport campus, the Williams Center for Undergraduate Student Achievement, doing the same thing. These are 2-year college, and when the young men graduate from the Shreveport campus, they get the opportunity to come to New Orleans campus or the Baton Rouge campus. Again, trying to support African-American male capital is our game, and that's what we learn to do, and we do it well. This is the end product of what you will see in a classroom going forward. My slide is about to end.
Discipline, servant leader, punctual, considerate, persistent, ethical. These are the values and characteristics of the honorary man. So there you have it, your future educators.
Thank you, everyone. Board, Sheriff, thank you all for support throughout the years. General Honorary couldn't be here. He also to tell you guys, thank you for the support all through years. You have a good rest of your day.
Markeith, I'm sure General Honorary said more than that. Look, I want to commend you and General Honore on all the great work that you do. I had the opportunity to attend that golf tournament, and I've had the opportunity to meet some of these young men, and I think this is one of the type of work that HBCUs are about, and I'm super proud that these guys are here with us today. So keep on doing what you're doing. Do you get any funding from the system?
We receive funding in the aspect of supporting us. They pay for my salary and some of the things that the guys need currently.
Okay.
We would love to grow more, and if there's an opportunity to receive some more support, we'll greatly appreciate it.
All right, Marquis. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Now we'll have a presentation, Dr. Ammons.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Honorable board members, President Belton, colleagues. First of all, let me say that we're extremely proud of the Honore Center. The leadership that Mark Keith is giving to this effort, and of course, the support of General Honore, just being able to have his name on a center here at the institution that is making a tremendous impact, not only on this campus, but on this community. And I want to commend the young men for their dedication and commitment to academic excellence. At this time, I'm going to ask Dr. Kim Rugan, our Vice Chancellor for Institutional Advancement, to come forward for a special presentation as a part of our overall fundraising efforts here at the institution. We have reinvigorated fundraising, and we started with our alumni. And today, you are going to see one of our alums who does not think it's robbery to remember his alma mater. And so I'll turn it over to Dr. Rugan for this special presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Ammons, and I don't know if I can follow the Honore Center. I mean, that's a wonderful group of men, but thank you guys for having us this morning. Good morning, Chairman Shorty, President Belton, distinguished board members, and all of the chancellors and our guests. It gives me great pleasure to stand before you to introduce one of our alumni members from the class of '98. Mr. Tracy D. Turner is the president and founder of Turner Development LLC, one of the fastest rising and more prolific construction companies in the Washington, D.C. area. Tracy was born and raised in South Carolina, and back around 1994, 1994, Tracy registered for admission to Southern University at New Orleans. In 1998, Tracy walked across the stage as a graduate in computer information systems. Before starting TDL LLC, Tracy worked on numerous significant projects in the private and public sectors, where he gained experience in project management, resource management, and estimating and drafting. Utilizing the skills and experiences that he acquired here at SUNO and within his professional career, he developed a passion for construction and real estate. Using the principles of lean construction, TDL implements ways to minimize waste and maximize the use of time, labor, and material. TDL's commitment to quality and on-time completion is an integral part of its success. TDL started as a simple fix and flip company within the District of Columbia in 2010, and eventually formed an LLC in 2016 for general building. This allowed TDL LLC to begin taking on larger projects for hire and obtaining federal contracts, and forced them to refine processes and offer an increasingly diverse set of services. Early in the development of his company, Tracy faced many obstacles with regards to his growth, including increased competition and retaining capital and resources to meet the requirements of constant growth of his company. Through his commitment to excellence and dedication and to professionalism, Tracy Turner and TDL LLC has continued to exceed industry standards by forming solid partnerships based on integrity, ingenuity, and reliability. Tracy's insistent on quality of service, hard work, and responsiveness to clients' needs remains the company's philosophy and has led to its success in a competitive industry. These characteristics, along with deep-rooted tie to the Washington, D.C. metro area, become one of the most recognized and respected names in construction. So let me tell you about the story. On March 28, 2022, I received a call from one of SUNO's employees stating that a fellow alumnus wanted to donate to his alma mater. She asked him, well, we're having a scholarship gala in October. Would you like to sponsor that? He asked, well, how much would that be? She replied, well, about 15, 20,000 as the top sponsorship. He replied, nah, I'm talking about something much bigger. She immediately said, let me call Dr. Ruben. So today, I am proud to announce that Tracy D. Turner, a graduate of the class of 1998 in Computer Information Systems, would like to present Dr. Ammons and the students of Southern University at New Orleans with a check for $250,000 to be used towards scholarships. The most significant gift given by an alumni member in the most recent history of the school. So if there are any alumni members in this room from SUNO, Mr. Turner is setting the bar very high. Mr. Turner, would you like to address the board?
I wasn't prepared. I didn't think it was going to be such a large crowd, but you know, I graduated from Southern University, New Orleans in '98, and the ironic part is I had an offer letter straight to IBM, right? So I've been there was there for 9 years, and then kind of branched out and started my own career. So SUNO, Southern University of New Orleans, had a great influence in my life and in my career. I just greatly appreciated it. So that's why I decided to donate so much money. Thanks.
So, Mr. Turner, on behalf of the students and the alumni, we would like to present you with this token because he told me all I want is a sweatshirt. So you got more than a sweatshirt.
Makes me feel like such a slouch. I graduated at 99. We both did. Well, that is definitely the way to get the morning started. I'm going to turn now to Dr. Williams for our resolution.
Good morning. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Our March 2022 resolutions and commendations are as follows. Commendations are extended to Keith W. Bynum. Keith Bynum is the director of the City of Houston's Housing and Community Development Department. Bynum's career with the City of Houston spans 3 decades, during which he has worked with virtually all aspects of housing and community development. He is a graduate of Southern University and a devoted life member of the Southern University Alumni Federation and the local Houston chapter. So commendations are extended to Mr. Bynum. Our condolences for this month are as follows. Our deepest condolences are extended to the Virginia Baldry family. Mrs. Virginia Baldry was the wife of Dr. Warren Baldry, and Mrs. Baldry was a 1959 Southern University graduate. She was a proud member of the Southern University Alumni Los Angeles chapter. She passed away on January 5th, 2022. Condolences are also extended to the Freddie Grampy Douglas family. Mr. Douglas attended Southern University in Baton Rouge, where he participated in ROTC and majored in secondary education with a concentration in mathematics. He graduated in 1957, was a life member of the Southern University Alumni Federation, and a retired teacher in Terrebonne Parish in 1977. He passed away on Wednesday, March 28, 2022. Our sincerest condolences are also extended to the Carolyn Marie Saison Albert family. Mrs. Carolyn Marie Saison Albert was a beloved and beautiful mother, daughter, sister, and educator. She was a two-time graduate of Southern University, and her career spanned more than 40 years as a professor and academic administrator, including assistant to the dean in the College of Arts and Sciences and assistant to the dean at the graduate school. With more than 4 decades in higher education, she retired from Southern University in Baton Rouge, and she was a member of the Knights of Peter Claver Incorporated Ladies Auxiliary Court and the Gamma Eta Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. She passed away on February 23rd, 2022, and her family is here today, Mr. Shorty, in her honor. This concludes our March 2022 resolutions and commendations.
If we could have Ms. Albert's family come up and receive the resolution from the president myself. Now, Mr. Gillum, I've held your committee hostage for long enough. Would you please, sir, academic affairs?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Academic Affairs Committee is hereby called to order. And Mr. President, would you please give us a roll call?
Yes, and good morning to everyone.
Morning, sir.
Mr. Gilliam,
Here.
Dr. Tarver,
Here.
Mr. Lawson, Ms. Reeves, Mrs. Smith, Ms. Williams, Attorney Shorty. You have a quorum, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. The next item of business here is the adoption of the agenda, and what is the pleasure of the committee? It's been moved by Ms. Williams and seconded by Mrs. Smith that we would adopt our agenda. Those in favor, please let it be known by saying aye. Opposed is nay. The agenda is thus approved. Item number 6 calls for public comments. Are there any individuals, either in the audience or digitally, who would wish to make public comments regarding any items in the agenda of the Academic Affairs Committee? Seeing no one approach the podium, we move to item action number 7. I'd like to beg the committee's tolerance, if you would. We have 3 items here that involve special recognitions for very special people. I would like to ask if you would, don't take your indulgence, take action items rather, A, E, and F, and approve those initially and come back, and because we want some comment coming from the various chancellors on B, C, and D, if that serves the pleasure of the committee. Okay? I have gotten a motion by Dr. Tarver, second by Mr. Lawson, that action items A, E, and F are thus approved. Those in favor, please let it be known by saying aye. Opposers, nay. These items are thus approved. We move to action items B, C, and D. Action item B comes from the Law Center and again involved. We'd like some comment and some comment, if you would, from Chancellor Pierre.
Good morning, Chairman Gilliam, members of the committee and board. I'm going to ask Ms. Lampkin and Ms. Chambers to come forth. They are with the Louis A. Berry Civil Rights and Justice Institute and have inspired me to present this to the board because of their excellent work.
Thank you so much, Chancellor. Thank you all board members this morning, faculty, staff, and guests. My name is Ada Goodley Lampkin. I am the director of the Louis A. Berry Institute for Civil Rights and Justice at the Southern University Law Center. One of our feature projects and initiatives with the Louis A. Berry Institute for Civil Rights and Justice is the case investigations of historically motivated crimes. This is due in large part to our partnership with the Civil Rights and Restorative Justice Project out of Northeastern University School in Boston. There is a large archive of cases from the Jim Crow period that help us to better understand why our systems, why our communities, why our schools, health systems are shaped the way they are. And a part of that work sometimes is to get justice for those victims' families, and sometimes it's to pursue restorative justice where evidence is lost, where suspects are passed away, and little can be done. But we know that to leave crimes as they are, to leave historical violence and trauma as they are, is to disregard the community and their right to heal. So a large part of our work, as I said, is pursuing restorative justice in cases where victims were taken from families, and sometimes it's to restore dignity, sometimes it's to restore honor to people who have laid their life and bodies on the line for us, for our youth, for our progress, and for our success. And it is an honor today to fight for that restorative justice for Mr. Jerome Smith, affectionately known as Big Duck. I'd like to read the memo that we've put together for your consideration. Jerome Big Duck Smith was 19 years old when he started at Southern University in Baton Rouge and became a member of CORE, the Congress of Racial Equity. He participated in boycotts and sit-ins along Canal Street in New Orleans, and his actions led to the university's decision to expel him. But it also paved the way for groundbreaking progress within the United States civil rights movement, not just New Orleans. Now at 83 years old, Mr. Jerome Big Duck Smith is a civil rights legend, New Orleans community leader and change agent who continues to fight for dignity and equity for the underserved. Mr. Smith is often sought out by historians, journalists, and movement leaders nationwide who hope for an opportunity to get a firsthand account of the experiences he had, the friendships he developed, all while putting his life on the line for a greater cause. He is likely most known for his participation in the Freedom Rides and the involvement in the fateful meeting between the who's who and notable of African-American civil rights leaders, entertainers, and the US Attorney General at the time, Robert F. Kennedy. That meeting in New York was attended by James Baldwin, Lena Horne, and others. But it was a young Jerome Smith whose testimony that day would reportedly weigh so heavily in the consciousness of Bobby Kennedy that it was said to have contributed to the momentum needed to encourage President Kennedy to pen monumental civil rights legislation. And if any of you have the pleasure of speaking with Jerome Smith and hearing his story, he will tell you, I was not an articulate man. I had a stutter, a terrible stutter. But on that day, through my stutter, I was able to say what needed to be said, the unpopular opinion, the opinion of the underserved who had not been heard. Of all of the priceless personal accounts Mr. Smith gives of his past, he often returns to his brief time as a student at Southern University. He made several meaningful connections during his time at Southern and recalls having his interest and thirst for deeper knowledge piqued by the educators and fellow students with whom he interacted. Mr. Smith's short tenure at the university would ultimately come to an end when he was expelled for his participation in an on-campus and in national protests. Though he was no longer permitted to attend, Mr. Smith still maintained a fondness for the university, and his hunger for learning did not cease. He recounts overtly making his way back onto campus to observe some classes after he was expelled. Mr. Smith sacrificed his personal education and achievement for scores of people of color who now stand on his shoulders. For these reasons, I submit this request that Southern University issue an honorary degree to Mr. Jerome H. Smith. Thank you.
And thank you so much, ma'am, for bringing forth this worthwhile and timely honor of this civil rights warrior. Many of us, few of us can only imagine the sacrifices that Mr. Smith had to go through to get to this point. We thank you so much, and the Law Chancellor for bringing this honor to us.
Thank you so much.
Is Mr. Smith with us?
I'm sorry, we also have a packet of information. If we compiled all the highlights of his life, you would be looking at a 50-page or longer book of highlights. So we have done our best to condense that for you and put some clips in as well. You can access this packet on our website at sulc.edu/civil rights. We will also have hard copies for you to take home and peruse through so that you can learn more about Mr. Smith.
Thank you, and you all should be commended too for investing in this research to make sure that this history does not die, that it is not. Thank you so very much.
Mr. Chairman.
You want to add anything? I'm sorry. Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Sir, I was wondering if it'd be possible, and I'm just wondering about the wording, request approval to consider issuing an honorary degree. Could we amend to just issue the honorary degree?
Thus, we will offer that indeed as an action item. It be in the pleasure, of course, of the committee that we would change the word to simply approve the issue of an honorary degree to Mr. Jerome Smith. Might I get a motion to that effect? It has been moved by Mr. Reeves, seconded by Mr. Smith, that we would indeed approve this honor to Mr. Smith. Those in favor, please let it be known by sign of aye. Opposed, nay. Hearing none, this request is thus approved. Maybe give a round of applause. Thank you very much.
Mr. Gilliam, if you don't mind, I just want to thank the board for taking this up. But what you see here, the work of the Louis A. Berry Civil Rights and Justice Institute, is a byproduct of some actions the board took. to create this institute. All right, I just want you to see the great work the board is doing that's being reflected in action.
Thank you very much, Chancellor. Item number C is a very special request to select tonight, and it deals with the Postmates Award. We wanted to make sure that this award is because on the honor of this young person, and let this family know just how much we appreciate this young man and the sacrifice and the contribution he has made to Southern University. Dr. Sako, we're going to ask you please if you would make comments regarding.
Mr. Chairman, I'll just make a comment in that regard. And again, as you pointed out, we come before you this morning to ask you to afford us an opportunity to acknowledge one of the fallen members of the Southern University family. And even today, you know, both faculty, students, and members of the College of Business are feeling his loss. Excuse me, are reacting to his loss. And so with the permission of his family, we ask that you enable us to approve a posthumous degree that would award him the Bachelor of Science degree in Business Administration at our next scheduled commencement exercise. And I speak obviously of Mr. Javante Barber.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. It has been moved by Mr. Lawson, by Ms. Williams, that indeed the conference of the posthumous degree to Mr. Javante Barber is thus approved. This is for the 2022 graduation exercise. Thank you so much. Okay, motion. We're to item number D, I believe. This is coming from Sussex. This deals with a camp. An individual that has contributed very much to the Southern University Street campus. And this deals with the Roy Gregg School of Business that we have previously approved. Dr. Pugh, I believe you would like to make some comments regarding this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I'd like to begin by simply with these two words, thank you to this board. Last month, this board graciously approved the naming of the School of Business as the Roy Griggs School of Business at Southern University at Shreveport. An individual who is not only a business owner of over 17 McDonald's franchises, but also someone who is a humanitarian and a philanthropist. And so this morning, it gives me great pleasure on behalf of the faculty, the staff, and students in the Roy Griggs School of Business to respectfully ask this board's approval to establish a $100,000 endowment in the Roy Griggs School of Business. And the manner in which we're funding this is we've raised $60,000, and we shall be approaching the Board of Regents in its endowment program to match the $60,000 with an additional $40,000 for a total of $100,000 to support this endowment. And at this time, as Chairman, I'm happy to take any questions, and I respectfully ask for the board's favorable consideration.
Are there any questions or clarifications? Board is open there for a motion for approval. It has been moved by Mrs. Williams and second by Ms. Smith that the Roy Griggs School approval for the endowment request would be approved. Those in favor, please let it be known by sign of aye. Opposed, nay. This item is thus approved. We move to item number 8, other business. Would there be any other business coming before the Academic Affairs Committee? Hearing none, we move down to item number 9. Been moved by Ms. Williams and second by Ms. Reeves that we would consider the Academic Affairs Committee adjourned. Those in favor, let them on side of aye. Opposed, nay. We are thus adjourned. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. And sir, we will stay with you for the Facilities and Property Committee.
Facilities and Properties Committee is thus called to order. Mr. President, would you please give us a roll call?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam,
Here.
Dr. Whitfield. Here. Mr. Bartholomew.
Present.
Mr. Hilliard. Mr. Lawson. Dr. Tarver. Attorney Short. You have a point.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Mr. President. The next item of business is the adoption of the agenda. What is the pleasure of the committee? It has been moved by, didn't get that, by Dr. Whitfield and second by Mr. Lawson, that the agenda for the Facilities and Property Committee would be approved as printed before us. We move to the item number 4, public comments. Are there any public comments regarding any aspect of the Facilities and Property Committee? See, no one opposed. Well, you're on pro, but okay, good. No one opposed for public comments. We move down to item number 5, and I do believe all of these items are informational items. We have Mr. Ken Dawson, who is, he's got invested in this job all of about 2 months now. So he's going to give us an update on facilities and property. I would like to comment and inform you. Indeed, we have been moving at warp speed because a lot of these items that we've been able to affect, for whatever reason, we're a little behind the November 1st deadline, of course, due to the insistence and the skill set, unique skill sets, Mr. Maurice and Mr. Ken Dawson. We have been able to include a number of these items in the capital outlay bill and even get as far as high school outlook too. Mr. Dawson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, to Chairman Shorty, President Belton, and of course, this illustrious board and to this committee. I mean, it has been quite a things have been going very quickly. Let me just say first that I have established a standing meeting every month with facility planning and control. That would be with the person that's over higher ed. The purpose of that meeting is to make sure that all our projects are dealt with, that we know current status of them. And if anything that's needed on behalf of the university, all campuses, that will be provided in a timely manner so there will be no delay in anything that they need to move projects forward. A conversation with one of the senators, one thing that he definitely told me down at the Capitol that when we have money allocated to projects, we want to make sure we get them done. So, and that's also been instructed to me by my hierarchy that I'm employed with. I just want to give a couple of things that quite quickly, the Mega Disaster Relief Center, that's something that the Ag Center has been moving forward. In fact, the plans have been placed on my desk just recently. So I'm going over those. Also, there is a meeting that we will have Tuesday with Facility Planning and Control to discuss some of that funding. I've asked our legal team to be a part of that meeting so that we can make sure that we have the funding coming forth. So what I understand, there may be some conversation we need to have with GOSEF to make sure that everything is flowing, but I plan on having that taken care of on Tuesday. The School of Business, I mean, that particular project is moving forward. I've had discussions with your architect. In fact, that will be, we into the actual programming phase. There's a meeting that will be held Tuesday with the deans to move that project forward and keep that on task. The dorm project is another project. That's the honorary dorms at the Southern Campus. That project is also moving forward and will be discussed with facility planning on Tuesday as well. The new Welcome Center, there's additional funding that's happening with that. We're going to be moving into pre-programming with that pretty soon. And all of these details are pretty straightforward as to the status of it. That's what I tried to do in this report, to give you a significant update as to where everything is and where it stands and where we need to move it forward. I do want to say that funding for the Sussler for the gym and the new gymnasium and physical ed building, that's a process that our delegation has been working forward to get money into that. But there's also an issue with the Collier Science Building. Even though there's a project going forward to stop the envelope of water intrusion into that building, we found out there was an issue also with when it rains. It flows back toward the building. There was a project moving forward to try to accomplish that. The actual bid came in a little higher than what the university could afford. So we're looking at putting that as a major project for facility planning to solve it. Not just look at a spot solution, but we're going to look at what it takes to make sure that drainage is taken care of throughout the whole campus so that we won't jeopardize any repairs that we're currently doing on buildings. Again, I'm not going to go through every item, but I tried to detail the report so they give you good information. I just wanted to get a few highlights in. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Dawson. I'd like to just ask one question. It's regarding the SUNO campus. And I'm hearing, hopefully I'll get a chance to tour it while I'm here. I don't know if we're going to be on a fast change here today. But the road, I keep hearing people refer to the road around here as the obstacle course.
Yes, sir.
What are we looking like? Are we going to be able to address that to the benefit of fine people here in New Orleans?
Yes, sir. That road is, my understanding, and Chairman Short and I talked about that briefly a while ago, that road is owned by the city. And what we have to do is to work on getting it either transferred to the university so that we can repair it or get them to do something with it. I've also met with the facility person here. My first visit here, I traveled that road and I was wondering where in the world I was going because it is quite an obstacle course. So the goal is to get with the needed people to make sure that we discuss that transfer, that we can repair it or to get the city to do it. So that's kind of where we are.
We're having some kind of interactions with some kind of conversation.
Yes, I will be down here next. I've talked to Dr. Ammons. I'm coming either next Wednesday or Thursday, and hopefully we can set up some meetings to that effect. But I also, ask for the assistance for anyone who knows those contacts with the city.
Let me say that I spoke to the mayor about this issue, and I didn't get the warm reception that I thought I would get. But I'll set up for you to see every council member.
Yes, sir.
And if we've got to go through the council, we'll go through the council to get this done.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Sounds like we've got hands on deck to deal with it. Right, Mr. Chairman? Mr. Chairman, sounds like what we've got hands on deck to deal with it.
Yes, sir.
And to deal with it.
Yes, sir.
Sounds like a winner. Are there any other concerns or observations? Sir?
I was gonna make mention to the board that if you saw the stuff on the field next door to the school, that's not our problem. That was Hogs for the Cause. Apparently they had a festival last week. So that's not our trash, but they are supposed to be cleaning it up. So don't think that we're not doing what we're supposed to do. So I don't know if you noticed that, Sam, but there's a bunch of stuff in the field next door to the school. So Hogs for the Cause. Yes. Hogs for the Cause. Okay.
And I just want to say, Mr. Chairman, for Will, that I'm looking forward to the visit with Dr. Ammons and with his team on next week. And also I will be coming shortly after that back down to Sussex and visiting with the team in Shreveport and also with the Law Center and the Ag Center. I had some visiting with the Ag Center recently, but going around touring, but we're going to make sure we hit those places once a month.
Appreciate it. Are there any other observations or questions regarding the facilities? Okay. If not, we'll move to other business. Will there be any other business to be brought before the facilities committee?
So move.
Moved by Whitfield and second by Mr. Rich Hilliard that we would hereby consider ourselves in charge. Those in favor, please let it be known by sign of aye. Opposed, is nay. We are thus adjourned, Mr. Chairman. Thank you so much for your tolerance.
Thank you, Mr. Gillum. We'll now turn to our Finance Committee, Ms. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to call the Finance Committee meeting to order. Roll call, please, Mr. President.
Yes. Ms. Williams?
Present.
Mr. Lawson? Mr. Gilliam? Ms. Reeves? Attorney Rutledge? Dr. Tarver? Attorney Shorty? You have a quorum, madam.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda. Moved by Mr. Gilliam. Second by Ms. Reeves. All those in favor? Motion passes. Are there any public comments? Seeing none. Item 5, action items, request approval for the mid-year budget adjustments, fiscal year 22. I will accept the motion at this time, and they were revised to add one piece that Mr. McClanton brought to our attention. And it basically deals with just a correction on a form, but we need to approve this. Moved by Mr. Gilliam. Second by Ms. Reeves. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 6 is an informational item. It's an update on the campus austerity plans as BR, New Orleans, and Sessler. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. McClanton.
Good morning. We have compiled a report from each one of the campuses, New Orleans, Baton Rouge, and Shreveport. We didn't compile a report for New Orleans, for the Law Center, because they are not in need of a austerity plan. The whole idea behind the plan is to prepare, in fact, be proactive after we no longer have COVID funds, to make certain that the university still operates and can maintain a balanced budget. So what we are looking at is that the COVID fund, as it stands now, will probably end June of 23. But we want to be certain that whatever adjustments, budget adjustments that we need to make, that we begin making those now. Earlier, we developed a plan and to determine what that amount is, what amount of PERS funds are we using in the current year, and to determine the amount that we need to adjust for for the next 2 years. So we developed a report, and I will start with the Baton Rouge campus first. When we did the first report, we projected that we were using approximately $5.1 million in PERS funds. And since that time, and that was back in December before we had finalized the registration for the spring semester. After we finalized the spring semester, instead of that number being $5,195,000, it actually dropped to $2,365,000, which is a good thing. And the way we did that, we went back and looked at the budget and did a recap and did the update as we were asked to do. And it basically changed because of the fact that we were able to write off prior year student receivables that, in fact, for the Baton Rouge campus in the amount of $1 million using PERS funds. And what that had gave us the ability to do is to relieve the budget of the amount that we had budgeted going forward for account receivable write-offs, that's student write-offs. In addition to that, the Baton Rouge campus reviewed their budget and indicated that they would be able to save approximately $65,000 on travel. And it also in operating services and in supplies, they had another $257,000 that they would be able to save. And these savings will not be recurring. They will be permanent savings. In addition to that, the spring semester registration income actually ended up being about $1.2 million higher than we anticipated. I'm sure that you are aware that the enrollment did go up on the Baton Rouge campus in the fall and spring semester, which allowed us to reduce the number by $2.8 million. So instead of 5.1, it's 2.8. In addition to that, we also developed a plan on how we would deal with the remaining $2.3 million. And that plan is also includes reduction in travel, a reduction in professional services. In addition to that, Baton Rouge is projecting that they will probably have another 100 student increase in the fall and spring semester of next year. So with the $2.3 million increase, and also they're indicating that they'll be able to reduce the cost of adjunct professors. And adjunct professors, I think Mr. Pugh indicated to me he had worked with Dr. Sahu, and they believe that they'll be able to reduce that number by $1 million. That being said, then with those reductions, Baton Rouge will be able to move forward and not rely on HERF funds in 23-24 to balance their budget. The next campus was the SUNO campus. And I interacted with the SUNO campus. And they're able to balance their budget without using any HERF funds in the fiscal year. In this fiscal year, they've also said to me they did not need to use any HERF funds in the next fiscal year. There's nothing wrong with using HERF funds. They are using HERF funds, but they're using them for one-time dollars. And also, I would say that for Baton Rouge and for SUNO, they're using HERF funds, but they're doing it also for one-time dollars. With one-time dollars. And the key to it is that we received the HERF fund because there was we knew that registration would fall. We knew that we would have some extra costs. And that's why we received the HERF funds in the beginning. All we're doing now is moving forward to make certain that we prepare now for what happens when those dollars are no longer available. Like I said, for New Orleans, they are not using HERF funds in their current operating budget. For the Shreveport campus, they anticipated that they would use $2.2 million in HERF funds when we initially developed the plan as of December 31st, 2022. Since that time, they have been able to reduce it from 2.2 million to approximately 1.5. And the way they are doing that is that they are actually freezing positions. In fact, they're saying they're freezing 14 positions, which would come to about $443,701. They are also only allowing essential travel. And they've also been able to, in operating service, they got some one-time funding that will allow them moving forward to reduce expenditures and reduce some costs that they have. So it's about $305,000. So they reduced their amount to about $757,000. In the 22-23 fiscal year, they also indicated in the plan how they will balance their budget for the remainder of the 22-23 fiscal year. And basically what they're doing is that they're continuing the freeze on hiring, which amounts to about $765,000. Professional services, they're reducing professional services about $237,000. And the only the larger one is the fact that other charges, and they're reducing other charges, and they were able to do it because of the same reason Baton Rouge is doing, and that is they were actually able to write off some of their expenditures. So based on the plans that are submitted, we will closely monitor the plans going forward. And once the plans materialize, unless something else occurs, they should be able to balance their budget starting in fiscal year 24. That's my.
Thank you, Mr. McClendon. Are there any questions?
Ms. Williams, not necessarily a question, but a comment. I would like to commend Dr. Ammons, Dr. Belton, Dr. Sahu, and Dr. Apini on seeing this problem coming up and enacting plans to get out in front of this early. thank you. And I think that's what this board wants you to do. And you've done a great job of making sure that we're not dealing with this way after the fact. So thank you all, gentlemen.
And you did mention that a lot of the monies from SUNO and the others were used to assist students as well, correct?
Right.
And I think that's what the whole plan of the HERF was in the first place. So I agree with what Mr. Shorty is saying, that we won't be dependent upon this money to make our budgets in the future.
That is correct.
Any other business? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Mr. Gilliam. Second by Dr. Tolliver. All those in favor? We stand adjourned.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Now turn to Mr. Lawson and the Governance Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Call to order the Governance Committee meeting, roll call, Mr. Secretary.
Yes. Mr. Lawson,
Present.
Dr. Carver, Dr. Davis, Ms. Reeves, Mr. Taylor, Jarrell, Attorney Shorty. You have a floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Item number 3 is adoption of the agenda. Are there any modifications to the agenda as printed? A motion to approve the agenda by Dr. Torres, there's a second to the motion. Second by Dr. Davis. All in favor, aye? That motion carries. Item number 4, public comments germane to the agenda as adopted. Seeing no one approach the podium, I'll entertain a motion. Item number 5, request for approval for the university intercollegiate athletics travel policy. Is there a motion? Have a motion that Dr. Thomas, properly second by Dr. Davis.
May I have Mr. McClinton to respond to your inquiry, Dr. Davis?
Mr. McClinton. Mr. McClinton.
Yes, sir. The athletic travel policy, we have interacted with the Division of Administration. Third was that we needed to develop policy just for athletics. And the reason for it is because, well, one is that we were sending numerous requests to the Division of Administration approval to exceed travel allowance. And we worked with the athletic department, agreed with the Division of Administration, we would develop a policy just for athletic department. Based on the fact that the policy we worked talked about for a while, policy helped it. So we have developed the policy.
Excuse me, can they close the door back there? Service back there. Sorry. Thank you.
Yes, the process, now, after that travel, will be about 80 banks agreed with us, and we all met, and it's really what we did.
Then satisfied the question, Dr. Davis?
We are here today, we're moving forward, and we're staying ahead of the wind that's coming behind. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. Any other questions, concerns, item number 5? Hearing none, all in favor, aye. Opposed, that motion carries. Item number 6, any other business needs to come before the Governance Committee?
Move
Not-
adjourned.
Motion adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lawson, for that very brief committee report. It's efficient. Now turn to Dr. Tarver and the Personnel Committee.
Roll call.
Yes. Dr. Tarver?
Here.
Ms. Reeves? Ms. Fondell? Attorney Armady? Here. Reverend Toller? Ms. Williams? Attorney Shorty? You have a quorum.
Thank you very much.
Item number 3 on the agenda is adopting the agenda. Can I get a motion to adopt? It's properly moved by Ms. Williams, seconded by Ms. Reeves. All those in favor, let it know on the sign of aye. So ordered. Item number 4, public comments. Are there any public comments relative to this agenda? Hearing none, we move to item 5, action items. We have several lengthy items, and I had a motion to adopt under A, and we do so. If there are any questions, we can have those referred at this time. And a motion to adopt action item 5A. Been moved by Ms. Williams and seconded by Mr. Fondell. Are there any questions?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Before the vote, I would like to recognize Mr. Jarrell asked to be recused on this particular vote for action item 5A.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear. You want him to do what?
Mr. Taylor Jarrell asked to be recused off of this vote for action item 5A.
Okay, so that, thank you. There's no opposition to the motion. Motion by Ms. Williams, seconded by Ms. Williams. All those in favor of that, let it know aye. Those opposed. So have it. Let me go to action item 5B. Request approval of equity salary adjustments for Southern University A&M College, Baton Rouge. Dr. Sahu?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Dr. Tavo, members of the Governance Committee. Thank you for the opportunity to address an issue. We are only as good as the talent that we're able to recruit, retain, and develop. So this request is for your approval so that the college leaders, the chief academic officers of these colleges are retained. And in the case of there is eventual vacancy, we have the ability to fill them by going through a national search. Your kind consideration and approval will be greatly appreciated.
Thank you. Are there any questions to Dr. Sahu? If not, may I have a motion to approve item B? Moved by Mr. Fondell, second by Mr. Williams. All of those in favor, let it know on the sign of aye. Those opposed, so have it.
Thank you, sir.
I'm sorry, did someone? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you were saying. We move to action item 5C. Request approval of Southern University Shreveport Incentive Retirement Program. Dr. Penny.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To this board, once again, this item comes before you. It is SUSLA's respectful request to present this board with a retirement incentive plans for eligible faculty and eligible staff at Southern University at Shreveport. In addition, we have began conversations. Our HR director is meeting with our systems HR director, Attorney Tracy Woods, and individuals with the State Civil Service Department to separately from these two plans that are before you to begin working on a retirement incentive plan for our classified employees, obviously one that would be developed in compliance with state civil service guidelines. But what you have before you today are the retirement incentive plans that are presented for eligible faculty and staff. In preparing these plans, I had the honor and privilege of meeting with the faculty Senate leadership, the president, the vice president, also with the staff Senate leadership, the president and the vice president, with my executive cabinet. And then we held a town hall for all of faculty and staff. And it was almost packed in the Jackson Auditorium where we laid out these plans, indicated the rationale for them. In a nutshell, in both cases, we're offering a $25,000 fixed retirement incentive for the eligible faculty and staff. We've done our fiduciary test with the numbers. We know we can afford it if applied at the maximum. The intent is to make sure that the individuals who are interested, who go through the application process, would be separated from the institution by June 30th, and by September of 2022, the payments will be made out to those individuals that actually decided to go through the process. There's also an opt-out clause. If someone chose to put in an application and later change their mind, there is a 7-day window that is provided for them to do that. So the plans have received the support of the campuses. In fact, we made them such that in the case of faculty, we did not restrict it to just tenured faculty. We offered the plans across the board for both tenured and tenure track faculty members who, of course, are eligible for these retirement incentives. And Mr. Chairman, at this point, I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Penny. Any questions of Dr. Penny? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve item 5C? So moved by Ms. Williams, seconded by Ms. Reeves. All of those in favor, let it known sign of aye. Those opposed, so have it. We move to item 6, other business. Is there any other business before this committee?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
If the board would indulge me, Mr. Chairman, I was wondering, last week I had a conversation with 5 folks in the administration about one person's job title. And I thought it seemed like a lot of middle management to deal with to talk about a job title. And what it made me wonder is if I was frustrated talking about the job title thing to 5 different people. I know the employee had to be terribly frustrated with the process. And oftentimes, and I commend Christy Reeves's team over at Ochsner, because oftentimes in New Orleans city business, Ochsner is listed as one of the best places to work in the Metro New Orleans area. And I know there are metrics to study are you a great place to work? And we have to be focused on student outcomes. But I also think if folks are happy when they come to work, it's going to reflect in the student outcomes. And I don't know how we do this, but I wanted to throw this out. Are there ways for us to measure employee happiness in their work environment? And there are things that you can do to make the work environment better. And most folks are going to laugh and say, oh, you pay them more. Yes, we get that. That's a given. But most folks don't get in the education to get paid more. They get in the education because they love students and they're serious about education, and that is their life's vocation. And I would like to see us do something to see what kind of workplace we have. I know this is probably right up a Penning's alley of metrics and things that we can study, but I think this is probably something that is measurable and worth studying.
It's something that we could refer to Ms. Tracy Woods, who's our HR director. I don't know if she's still here. Is Ms. Woods in? She's not here. But let me suggest that we refer this, Mr. President, to her to look at, because they are the ones who develop those evaluation forms. If they go one way, we need one that comes back the other way to get response. And that would be an appropriate thing to do.
Yeah, not only appropriate, it certainly would be an opportunity for us to do that. I think it would be very appropriate that we do that. In years past, we used to do satisfaction surveys, sure, and we would disseminate those to the Board of Regents and alike. If it's a requirement at that time, and for whatever reason, we stopped doing it. But certainly, Mr. Chair, and the chairman of this committee, we would be more than happy to begin that process again.
I want to add something to that. I noticed in looking at the board packet that when we produced a form like this, because of space, oftentimes people change the title or shorten the title that says one thing, and then when you go look through the packet to try to find the person or the title, oftentimes it was difficult to do so. And I know when you're just doing it on the computer, after looking at 225 pages for this meeting alone, you wouldn't find it. One board member suggested that maybe what we should start doing in preparing this is to put a page number, a P number, where we can find the document related to that person. That was my first comment. The second comment was that I found in this instance, I'm thinking about where half the title was here, it may have been because of space, we could drop it down, because when I found the person's job description, I found a title twice as long. And so most people's understanding comes from looking at what the first part of the title says, and nobody even knows about the second part because the second part has some additional duties and responsibilities. This also affects the salary situation. So somebody looks at, well, we're paying them too much for this. Well, what is it you're thinking about? And so they're thinking about the first part of the job because they haven't read about the second part of the job. So it might very suggest a greater correlation between our board office and the president's office in putting this information together. And if you put the page number down there, then it's easy for a board member to be able to look at the person's name, find the page and go look and see what the information is. And once they see the information, they'll be even more satisfied. Just a thought. We do that.
Perfect.
Dr. Davis?
Yeah. Just speaking to the chairman's question, that there is a lot of literature out there. There's a lot of studies that have been made on performance and management and higher education. I read a lot of that years ago when I was a young administrator. But one thing that came out of all my readings that's true in every study I've seen, if you pay them more, they stay with you. They don't leave you. So if you want to keep an employee, give them more money, they will not leave. All of the studies say the same thing. And if Dr. Tarver may study this, may have something different, but every piece of literature I saw showed that's what happens.
Mr. Chair.
You want to keep an employee, pay them more.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Yes, Mr. President.
Interestingly enough, I might add, my master's thesis was on commitment as a determinant of persistence. And if you want to look at a case study, you may want to look at the employees of the Southern University system because they have been woefully underpaid. And yet they have maintained their commitment and dedication to Southern University. My thesis has been proven that commitment outweighs what people are paid in determining whether or not they persist or not.
Yeah.
You're just a unique administrator, sir.
Are there any further contributions?
I have a question.
Yes, Ms. Yes,
You know, a few years ago, I believe Dr. Robin Merrick introduced SU Smiles. And much of the data, if it's still in effect, I guess I should ask Dr. Merrick that, but much of the data that she has collected probably would also be very valuable in this particular case. I don't know many people who would leave a job if they know they're going to be paid more. So for that reason, I would suggest that you do a cross-check by using SU Smiles.
I think it's a good recommendation. We will certainly pass that along to both Dr. Merrick and Ms. Woods. Thank you. Any other further comments on this subject matter? Hearing none, we go to item 7 for adjournment. Do I hear a motion to adjourn, Ms. Reeves? Please, no second. Thank you very much. This committee is adjourned, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. The meeting of the Board of Supervisors called to order. Mr. President, can I get a roll call, please, sir?
All right. Roll call.
just want to make sure we have the recording. Roll call, Mr. Chairman. Attorney Shorty.
Present.
Dr. Whitfield.
Present.
Attorney Armady. Mr. Bartholomew. Dr. Davis. Mr. Fondell. Mr. Gilliam. Mr. Hilliard. Mr. Lawson. Ms. Reeves. Attorney Rutledge. Mrs. Williams. Dr. Tarver. Mr. Taylor Jarrell. Reverend Torbert. Ms. Williams. And Mrs. Smith. You have a quorum, sir.
Thank you, sir. We now move to item 3, option of the agenda. Can I get a motion? Moved by Mr. Whitfield. Second by Ms. Reeves. The agenda is adopted. Number 4, are there any public comments? Any public comments? Seeing none, we'll move on to our special presentation, the Above and Beyond Award. Dr. Ammons.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Honorable members of the board, President Belton, colleagues here this morning. I would like to ask Dr. Kim Rugan to come to the podium to introduce our Above and Beyond Award recipient.
Thank you, Dr. Ammons. Good morning. Once again, Chairman Shorty, President Belton, distinguished board members, chancellors, and all of our guests attending here today. It gives me great pleasure to present the Above and Beyond Award to Ms. Florence. Some of y'all know her as Regine Williams. Although Regine's official start date was August 8, 2021, Regine hit the ground running in July. I contacted her asking her for assistance with a press release and with a speech for the chancellor. Regine graciously stepped up to the plate and completed both tasks ahead of the deadline. Her work is meticulous and she carries herself most professionally. She is always willing to step up to the plate, ready to knock the ball out of the park. When canvassing the students about who they think should receive this prestigious award, it was Regine, hands down. Ms. SUNO stated, "I believe Regine is the perfect candidate for this award. When doing my first commercial for the school, she was very patient with me and interactive with the videographer. Since meeting her, she has always made sure that everything was perfect. The next time we filmed a commercial, there was some minor setbacks, but she still made everything stress-free and comfortable. Most recently, the Royal Court and a few members of the SGA visited SUBR for the town hall meetings with the potential president chancellor candidates. She accompanied us. She kept us informed about the process. She ensured we had everything we needed and kept us laughing, as she has a very pleasant sense of humor. I know this is killing Regine because Regine knows everything on campus. I call her my little FBI agent, but I kept this from you. So Regine truly embodies what it means to go above and beyond. And I am honored to have this young lady on my staff. I went to the system office to ask them, would it be okay if I brought her over to SUNO, and I have not had any regrets. She is my right-hand person. So Regine, you're above and beyond candidate.
I did not know that. Hi, everyone. Janine, first of all, you are my mentor. She stole me from the mayor's office in 2017, and I have been with her forever. Dr. Rugan, I love you, Dr. Rugan. Dr. Rugan is my right hand also. Dr. Ammons, thank you for bringing me here also. I'm nervous. I did not know this was happening, so. Yeah, I know. I am today. Thank you all.
Yeah.
We'll now move to our action items. Can I get a motion to request approval of the minutes of the March 18th meeting? Moved by Dr. Whitfield, second by Mr. Fondale. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion is carried. Now, action item 6B, request approval of committee reports and recommendations. Moved by Dr. Whitfield, seconded by Mr. Lawson. I would note for the record that Mr. Jarrell is recusing himself from this particular vote. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? The action item is approved. And we go to item 6C, request approval of articulation agreement between Tougaloo College and the Southern University Law Center, knowing I did not want to mispronounce articulation. Chancellor Pierre.
Yes, thank you, Chairman Shorty. So this is an effort between the Southern University Law Center and with HBCUs across the country to bring more HBCU graduates into the Southern University Law Center. We looked last year, and more than 90% of our law students don't come from HBCU undergraduate schools. So we said, well, how can we enhance that? So we've done some things within Southern University of Baton Rouge, SUNO. But what we found out is that other law schools are reaching out to HBCUs and having them look at, can they work with those law schools and award a degree to their students within 3 years and let them spend the 4th year in law school. And we've done that. It seems like what's happening is many of the HBCU undergraduate institutions find it fashionable to do something with a Suffolk University or a Harvard or a Yale, but they miss out on the fact that an overwhelming majority of their graduates actually get degrees from HBCU law schools. So this is our first step in that process, and Tougaloo was a prime candidate because most people may not recognize this, but Tougaloo produces more than 80% of the Black lawyers from undergraduate schools in Mississippi come from Tougaloo, and about 50% or more of Black doctors actually from the state of Mississippi get their undergraduate degrees from Tougaloo. And we have had a long history with Tougaloo in terms of producing graduates as far as law graduates from Tougaloo College. So the great relationship occurs because the president of Tougaloo is a SUNO graduate. You may have met her at the board meeting in November. And just recently, she secured a $10 million gift from Netflix. So we have been working with her on a couple of other things, and we'll bring more to the board as we work through these situations with institutions like Tougaloo to, again, increase the number of HBCU undergraduates who come to the Southern University Law Center.
Thank you, Chancellor Pierre. Any questions? Can I get a motion to approve? So moved by Dr. Tarver, seconded by Dr. Whitfield. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion is carried. Let's move to item 6D. Recommendation letter of approval for memorandum of understanding between SUNO and Danubis? Danubius? Danubius University. Oh my God. Dr. Ammons, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, one of the things that we do a lot of is we take a look at data. And one of the things that is prominent in retention and graduation data is student exchange programs, study abroad. And so we have an opportunity here at SUNO to enter into this agreement with a European institution that has the first African-American to serve as president of a European university. As a matter of fact, we know Dr. William Harvey, and it's not the president of Hampton University. There is another brother by the name of Dr. William Harvey, who at one time served as Dean of the College of Education at North Carolina A&T University. And he also, well, he had several administrative positions, but also the American Council on Education. At the heart of this agreement is the exchange study abroad program for both our faculty and our students. And when we take a look at our student body, many of them have not traveled abroad. And so this is going to be an opportunity for them to have an experience in Europe, although Eastern Europe. And we ask for your approval of this agreement between Danubius University and Southern University at New Orleans.
Thank you, Dr. Ammons. Can I get a motion? Offered by Mr. Bartholomew, seconded by Ms. Williams. All in favor? Any opposed? The motion is carried. For your information, I had to look up Galatia. I believe I pronounced that correct. It's a city in Eastern Romania, Western Moldova, on the Danube River. So I had to nerd out for a minute and find it on Wikipedia. Now we'll turn to action item E, request approval of memorandum of understanding between SUNO and the New Orleans Police Department and the New Orleans Family Justice Center. Dr. Ammons.
Yes, thank you. In line with our efforts to make certain that we have a safe and secure campus, our police department has worked with both the New Orleans Police Department as well as the New Orleans Family Justice Center for a number of years. But this memorandum of understanding it's a precursor to a grant from the Federal Department of Justice that would allow us to collaborate on putting in place programs that will combat dating violence, sexual assault, domestic violence, and stalking. And so this grant, if this is approved, we will submit the grant to the Department of Justice. It'll be a 3-year grant for $100,000 per year. And it will provide a full-time project director, as well as a full-time police officer, victim advocate, case manager. And so we're asking for your approval of this memorandum of understanding to continue the work that we're doing with New Orleans Police Department, as well as the New Orleans Family Justice Center.
Thank you, Dr. Ammons. Mr. Bartholomew makes the motion. Ms. Williams seconds. All in favor? Any opposed? The memorandum is approved. And we turn to item F, request approval of articulation agreement between Southern University at New Orleans and Xavier University College of Pharmacy. Dr. Ammons?
Yes, again, this is a continuation of the relationship between the two institutions, SUNO and Xavier. And what this articulation agreement will put in place would be a pathway for students who complete their biology degrees here at SUNO to enter into the Doctor of Pharmacy program at Xavier. They have worked out a curriculum, a path for our students to go in and to complete their Doctor of Pharmacy degree. And so we ask your approval of this articulation agreement.
Moved by Dr. Tarver, second by Ms. Williams. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Now, members, we did our resolutions earlier, so we're going to turn to our informational item. Item 8, consideration of possible merger dissolution of the SUNO Foundation. I'll speak to this one. For a number of reasons, Southern University at New Orleans, for very good reason, had its own foundation. There were systemic issues with how this campus felt they were treated by the system at large, which caused us, and I say us because I'm definitely a member of the SUNO alum, to feel that we needed to do things separately. And at the point that it was founded, there was good cause for that. But it is not a best practice. It is not something that we should continue to do. It is something that was done at a time for a number of reasons, and we've moved past that. And sometimes somebody has to go first in renewing a relationship, and SUNO alum will go first and renew this relationship. Al Harrell has done a phenomenal job running the foundation, and the foundation does what it's supposed to do, and the SUNO alumni are going to focus on helping the institution raise money. And what I want from this board is support for having the SU Foundation, with the leadership of Mr. Harrell, to manage the funds and assist in raising the funds like we do everywhere else. The thing I will ask of Dr. Ammons, though, because I'm doing something that my alumni may not be super happy about. The thing I want from my institution is to make sure that institutional advancement is staffed and funded like it should be, so that we can raise money and that we can have a healthy competition in who raises the most money. I want to see how New Orleans competes against Shreveport, competes against Baton Rouge, competes against the Law Center. Who raises the most? That should be the competition. And SUNO alum are not doing what we need to do, including myself, to raise money in this community. But there was a study commissioned by the SUNO Foundation several years ago that recommended this, and we've never acted on it. And I know council is working on the language to get this 100% right on how we do this. But that is why this is on the agenda. Mr. Harrell, do you want to speak to this? Okay. Certainly, Dr. Tarver.
Just for the record, the SUNO Foundation was created before there was a Southern University Baton Rouge Foundation, and before that was a System Foundation. So it was not the stepchild concept that we've seen in later years in other areas. But the idea of the merger is something that has been considered and should be considered. And as a way of doing this without doing any harm to the SUNO campus by having that relationship, because the Systems Foundation was created essentially for the purposes of trying to coordinate all of this. During the time that I was president, I extended to each of the campuses the choice of creating a foundation. And the only campus that had a foundation, of course, was a SUNO Foundation. We had the System Foundation, but it covered the Baton Rouge campus. And so Shreveport elected to have a separate foundation. The law school and the Ag Center said, well, we want to do our fundraising, but we'd like to do it through the Systems Foundation. So it allowed the other foundations to exist, but it allowed the management of those funds to be coordinated through the Systems Foundation, which is currently now happening. So if you're looking for the idea of support, it seems to me that there's a way of accomplishing both of those objectives. And surely the Systems Foundation is in a position to do that and help all of our campuses do that in the future.
Yes, sir. And thank you for those comments. I think that's exactly what we're trying to put in place, a way to do this where it doesn't hurt the SUNO family and it strengthens the system and the system foundation. But I believe we're going to revisit this once we get our language together. Corey, am I correct? All right, this was just to kind of bring it to everybody's attention. Thank you. Any questions? Okay. I'll now move on to informational item B, our medical marijuana update. But before I ask Dr. McMeans to give us that medical marijuana update, I would ask at our next board meeting, there are so many wonderful things that I was just informed of that are going on at the Ag Center. And I think we've got this new product, marijuana, that everybody wants to hear about, and it stays in the news. But if somebody just watched our board meeting, they would think that the Ag Center only does research on marijuana. And I know you guys do so much more. And I really would like to, not that we don't need the marijuana update, but I really would like to have an update on all of the other great things that your department's doing. Because they briefed me on it at the Capitol, and some of the things I had no idea of, and that's on me. But one of the things that our institution has to do better of, and I've told this to Dr. Ammons about SUNO, we have to tell our story. And if we don't tell our story, then other people will tell it for us. And y'all are doing great work, so tell us about it. All right? You ain't got to tell us today. You do the marijuana update today. Next month, you can tell us about it.
Yeah.
Not today.
And one of the things that we discussed during the retreat is that we do have to do a better job of telling our story. When we went before the rural caucus, they were so surprised at the extension that we're doing, that they have agreed to support us with our $10 million ask for this session, so that we can expand our footprint as it relates to that. So we're working on that and working on getting someone in that will do a good job of getting that message out to the community of what we're doing. It seems like we've been talking about medical marijuana for about 2-3 days now. I had the privilege of having a session recently last week in Atlanta, where we led a medical marijuana session. Dr. Macias, Dr. Snowden, communications director for Alira. And it was so popular that we have decided that we're going to hold an 1890 medical marijuana conference at Baton Rouge. And so we are excited about that. As a matter of fact, I hired a young lady who's a graduating senior at Prairie View on the spot. And so she will be a part of Alira and our medical marijuana program. But one of the things that's going on right now relevant to medical marijuana is we have 24 active bills in this session, and they're all over the place, from expanding the number of growers to increasing the number of dispensaries, to who does the testing and where they do the testing. And so and I know Dr. Merrick may give some more details, but it changes every day and we get a call every day. But what we're trying to do in concert with LSU Ag Center is to make sure that the land grant institutions stay a part of the central core of medical marijuana. Colorado State was smart in what they did. They made sure that as a land grant school, that when they taxed medical marijuana, well, marijuana in general, cannabis, a certain amount of money came back to the institution. So we want to make sure that the two land grant institutions, specifically Southern University, benefit from that. And the other thing I'll say that came up during the session, and I think you probably heard about this, Chairman Shorty, the research aspect, and I'm happy to say, Dr. Whitfield, we're starting that process. We're moving into therapeutic research. The reason why we didn't move into that because marijuana is still considered illegal, and an institution that receives federal funding cannot use its facilities to support such efforts. We've got the green light that we can actually engage in research. So we're going to move that endeavor forward. And I'm just truly excited about the program. 22 products from seed to shelf. And It's nice to have your 1862 peers in California and Colorado coming up to you and congratulating you. So I tell people this all the time. I said, the first conversation I had before I applied for this job is that we would never produce a product as it relates to medical marijuana. So I applaud not only the Ag Center, but the board for having the vision to put this through. So thank you, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. McMeans. Mr. Fondale. Mr. Fondale has a question.
Thank you. About Colorado State has it to where when it's been produced in whatever capacity, once it's sold to the retailers, you're talking about taking a tax off of the tax part of the sale of the cannabis?
That's correct. It actually goes K through 16. Basically, not only the universities, but specifically that university, but also the school systems also get resources from the sale of cannabis.
And what my question was to ask you, that money that's being used, if it's $1, it may be a quarter or 50 cents off of every tax dollar that's there. Can those funds, or can we lobby for those funds to be directed back to the university toward maintenance or construction or things like that over a period of time?
Yeah, once it comes to the university, it's unrestricted.
Okay, thank you. That's what I wanted to know. Thank you very much.
Any other questions? We're now going to turn to Dr. Merrick for our legislative update. But before Dr. Merrick starts, I would like to tell you guys what a conversation that I had with Dr. Merrick privately relative to some of these bills that are pending. And I know Mr. Rutledge, chair of our legislative committee, has spoken to our lobbyists and a number of legislators, as have I. And I told Dr. Merrick, to the degree that we can be helpful as a board with our individual legislative connections, use us. We shouldn't be caught flat-footed about things that are happening at the state capitol. And I know they are monitoring this, and we've had a number of briefings about the bills that may impact Southern University and our medical marijuana. But I just want to reiterate to you publicly that if you need us to weigh in with folks, let us weigh in, because one of my legislators spoke to me and he said, well, where are you guys at on this particular bill? I said, this is where we are. And once I explained it to him, he got it. And I just want to make sure that we speak with a unified message. And if we've got to call people, we'll call people.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the board, Mr. President. Thank you for reiterating that point. That is a key point to our unified messaging at the Capitol, and certainly that members of our board are on point with everything that we're working towards. You all have received a copy of our legislative priorities. I'll be certain to send another one, so you'll have an electronic copy of that as well that you can circulate, but that outlines all of our key areas that we are addressing right now. And then, of course, what's not included in that legislative priorities document are the bills that we are tracking, where we can provide a weekly sort of update to you, especially for those key bills that we're most concerned about and where we stand on those and where they are in the process, such that you can step in and advocate on our behalf for or perhaps against some of the legislation that's out there. Did want to just provide a quick update this morning, though. We're in the fourth week of the legislative session. We're about a third of the way through. The session will end on June 6th. Many of you are aware that we had SU Day at the Capitol this past week, and several of you were there participating in those activities with us. That's where the chairman got an opportunity to learn more about the Ag Center and the work that they're doing. And that's one of the reasons that we're at the Capitol, to raise awareness of our programs throughout the Southern system. But the biggest hit of the SU Day at the Capitol, actually we had a couple of big hits, but one of the biggest hit was bringing the JAG-mobile to the state capitol on Tuesday afternoon, such that our legislators could have an opportunity to tour it for themselves and see the work that our School of Nursing is doing. We entertained about 45 legislators who were able to tour that facility of that mobile and get a better sense of that, along with Mrs. Reeves and Ochsner being on standby with us that day as well. That really helped to have the Ochsner team right along with us, as well as some of our student nurses and our graduate nurses. We had a number of nurses that were graduates that came back to participate as well. What was also a highlight was Governor Edwards and the briefing that he shared with us. We had an opportunity to visit with him at the start of the day, and he certainly wanted to make that moment about Dr. Belton and his retirement. So that was a special moment for all of us, including Dr. Belton. What also happened that afternoon was a very historic moment for the university, that they yielded time from the president of the Senate's seat to Dr. Belton to address the Senate. That has only happened one other time that I'm aware of in the university's history. And of course, that's when Dr. Tarver did that some years ago when he served as president. So this is not a regular occurrence that they yield that microphone over to anyone other than a senator, other than the president of the Senate to speak. So Dr. Belton, we would like to applaud you for that and thank Senator Fields for making that happen for us. I want to also remind you that HBCU Day at the Capitol will be on May 24th. You'll get some more information on that. We're working with the Board of Regents and all of our colleagues throughout the state. Dillard, Xavier, and all of the Southern campuses will be coming together for that day. That too will be another full day of activities at the Capitol. Just a quick update on some bills other than medical marijuana that we are watching. We are indeed watching those bills, and thanks to our partners at Southern Strategy for working with our foundation to manage the efforts of our work at the Capitol. And also members throughout the Southern system who work with us from each campus, representing each campus's interest. I would like to point out that we visited with the House Education Committee already to shore up our free speech policies. The board did approve the free speech policy on last month to be certain that it was in alignment with the legislation that was put forth a few years ago. So I think everything went well with that. We visited Revenue and Fiscal Affairs on the Senate side, as well as Ways and Means, to talk about the capital outlay request for the university to include our deferred maintenance. Dr. Belton did present on all of those. And I had a really wonderful meeting with the Speaker of the House as well to address some of our issues with our School of Nursing facility-wise. And you heard Chancellor McMeans talk about a visit with the Rural Caucus as well. Legislation regarding our non-resident fees for our students. Representative Marcus Bryant is working on a piece of legislation that should have come up this past week, but I think it'll come up next week. And that's regarding legacy scholarships for our students who are children of graduates of the university. This legislation will allow boards to waive the non-resident fee for students who are students who are children of graduates of our university. That bill is coming forth. We once had the opportunity to do that, and now this bill will allow us to do that again. I think we are pretty much in favor. The only drawback is if we decide to reinstate those fees at some point in the future, we would have to go back to the legislature and have a 2/3 vote approval for that. So that's one area, slight concern, but I think if we can manage looking down the road, we should be okay. There are a number of retirement bills that are going forth that address the whole notion of retire, rehire, to make that more attractive, particularly as it relates to nursing, to bring some of our nurse educators back into the classroom. That's going to be important. And lastly, I wanted to mention the lab school tuition bill. The LSU Lab School is looking to create a bill that would allow them to increase tuition, not necessarily that we will do it here for the Southern Lab School, but it's something that would allow us to be able to do that within a time frame. And so we want to have some more conversation with the LSU Lab School and our lab school in regards to that bill. So that's where we are at this point in the session. We have a busy week ahead of us with a few more bills that will be coming that we'll be tracking, and we'll be in committee watching those bills. We'll be happy to answer any questions if we have any.
Any questions for Dr. Merrick? Thank you, Dr. Merrick, for your report.
Thank you, sir.
Any other business?
Very briefly, if you guys can bear with me. We had a fundraiser for the athletic department a couple weeks ago, Jagathon, and something very powerful happened. A young lady by the name of Morgan Edwards and her mother, who's a nurse, Michelle Edwards, were on their way to the city of Baton Rouge. They made a phone call and said, hey, we want to tour the Ag Center. This is their second visit to the school. The phones rolled over. It was apparently an early phone call. It rolled over to Dr. Reuben Walker's personal iPhone.
So he picks it up, let you know that there's ways that we can get in touch with these folks. These people complain about customer service. When it rolls over to his personal iPhone, he calls them back. They want a personal tour of the campus. They come on campus, they end up meeting faculty, staff. Dr. Merrick was there. I think they met Dr. Qatar Williams. They met Dr. Belton. Ended up going on the Jagathon fundraiser show, donated to the Jagathon fundraisers. This is a 3.9 student, mind you, that wants to come to our university. And so when they left, while they were on the show, they said they're going to tell everybody in Houston, Texas to come to Southern University. So it just shows you guys the power of us as board members, faculty, staff, administration, whatever part you play in Southern University is very, very important. And we had a great keynote speaker at our retreat yesterday that says that whenever you see a student, it's always yes. And so it is always yes. We always want to motivate, encourage these students. And when they see us, we should never say no. We should find a way to make it happen for them. So Dr. Walker, would you please stand? I just want to recognize you for what you did. And using your personal cell phone. I don't know when I call him, he don't answer. Chairman Shorter, so I don't know. Yeah, I guess I got to call a rollover number, but thank you for what you did, and we really appreciate you. And I just want to recognize him and congratulate Morgan Walker for she'll be here. She's accepted and she wants to major in ag business. Thank y'all so much for that moment.
Leave him a message and tell him you want to buy a goat and he'll call you back. Any other business? Seeing none. We'll get you some lamb, Dr. Davis. Chancellor Ammons?
Yes. First of all, I want to say that we had a very good week. This week that we spent together here in New Orleans was really invigorating. And the retreat, the SU Day at the legislature, and now here we are on the beautiful campus of Southern University at New Orleans. And I just want to thank the board for all of your support. President Belton, want to thank you for all of your support. And I want to thank our team here on the campus for all of the work that they did. Dr. Rugan and her staff and the entire staff here at the university. I want to thank them for all of the work that they did. For all of the work that they did to prepare for the board. This was a high priority for this campus, and I want to tell them how much I appreciate their commitment. But the day isn't over. Last year, we opened our Arts and Humanities building, and in that building is the SUNO Museum of Art. That museum is going to be the repository for a large collection of African artifacts. There are some in there now, and you're going to have an opportunity to see the beginning of it. And then you'll get an opportunity to go over to the beautiful Natural Sciences building, the second floor that houses the SUNO Bachelor of Science in Nursing. We have put together our classrooms, and you got to see our simulation labs. The human patient simulators are in place, and you get an opportunity to see those high fidelity, what we can't call them mannequins anymore, they're human patient simulators. But you'll see the latest, the state-of-the-art human simulators today on the tour. And so again, I want to thank everyone for just a fantastic week here in New Orleans. And Chairman Shorty, I want to thank you for your hospitality and your generous support of all of the activities, the dinner last night, and everything that we did here during this week. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ammons. Mr. President.
I'd just like to echo some of the comments that Chancellor Ammons made. We've had the occasion over the years to participate in a number of retreats, and certainly the retreat that we experienced this week was engaging and very productive, and that's certainly attributable, to your leadership and that of the board. I think the other part that I think was an outcome of that was just the ability to network with members of this board
Yes, in the professional sense, but also in the casual one. And that's just so meaningful as we continue to work together to advance the aims of the university system. So I certainly want to acknowledge you, members of the board, and express how meaningful, that engagement has been for us this week. And as well, Dr. Ammons, I want to thank you for your hospitality and the depth to which your staff was so accommodating to all of us. So, Mr. Chair, just wanted to state our appreciation to both you and Chancellor Ammons.
Thank you, President Belton and Chancellor Ammons. We like to host folks down here in New Orleans. Like y'all to come hang out with us for a little while. Can I get a motion to adjourn? So moved by Dr. Whitfield, seconded by Dr. Davis. We are adjourned.